Hi, boys and girls. It's good to be with you. Remember before we had our distance learning and spring break? Remember, I used to say to you every week to be sure to take an early reader from the library so that you could practice your reading. Remember, I showed you this label. We have a whole section of beginning reader books um, that can help you practice your reading. So I'm going to read you today Daniel's Duck. This is a delicious early reader. You can see right here it says, "And I Can Read" book, right? And this is a great story. It's by Clyde Robert Bulla. It's a little bit long, so I'm going to get started. I miss seeing you. Daniel's Duck by Clyde Robert Bulla. Here we go. This is an early reader. Can you see that? Right? This is a great story. I can't wait to read it to you. Jeff and Daniel were brothers. They lived in a cabin on a mountain in Tennessee. You can see. Jeff had a good knife. He could carve with it. He could carve things out of wood. He made a dish. He made a cup and a spoon. His mother and his father were very proud. Someday, they said, you may be as good as Henry Pettigrew. Pettigrew. Make sure you can see. Carving, you can see that this is a historical book, right? Not like today. Henry Pettigrew lived in the valley. They had never seen him, but they had seen his work. He was a wood carver. Some said he was the best wood carver in Tennessee. Henry Pettigrew carved animals. His birds looked as if they could fly right into the sky. His horses looked as if they could run. All his animals looked real. That must be Henry, huh? And I'll bet you've seen wood carvings yourself. Jeff and his brother Daniel had seen some of those in town. I want to carve an animal too, said Jeff. I want to carve a deer or a turkey or a bear, just like Henry Pettigrew's. But animals are hard to carve. I want to carve an animal too, said Daniel. You're not old enough to carve, said Jeff. Oh, yes, I am, said Daniel. I could carve one if I had a good knife and if I had some good wood. It takes more than just a good knife and good wood, said Jeff. Here they are, brothers. I like this early reader. What does it take? Asked Daniel. Well, you have to know how, said Jeff. It's hard to carve an animal. Well, I know how, said Daniel. Well, let's see you do it, said his father. So he gave Daniel a knife like Jeff's. He gave him a block of wood. I think they live on a farm. It was winter time. The nights were very long. Whoops, I almost skipped a page. This is a good time to sit by the fire and carve, said Jeff. I'm going to make something for the spring fair. Here they are, all nestled in their home on a cold winter's night. Every spring there was a fair in the valley. It was time for people to meet after a long winter. It was time to show things that they had made. Sometimes they sold what they had made. Sometimes they traded one another. Father knew how to make Indian moccasins. On winter nights, he made moccasins to take to the fair. Mother cut pieces of cloth and she sewed them all together to make beautiful quilts. This will be a warm quilt for somebody's bed, she said. I will take this to the fair. You see me peeking under here? Because I'm looking to see if you can see the picture. Do you think I was hiding from you? I'm going to make a box for the fair, said Jeff. I'm going to carve little moons on the lid. He said to his brother, You haven't done anything with your block of wood. What are you going to make? I have to think, said Daniel. Here's Daniel thinking. Hasn't done anything with his block of wood yet. He has to think about it. Maybe he's looking for inspiration. Days went by, and then he began to carve. What are you making? Asked Jeff. Oh, you'll see, said Daniel. You can see Pa's up there playing his fiddle. Ma's working on her quilt, right? I think Daniel's going to get busy. One night, Jeff looked at what Daniel was carving. He saw a neck and a head. He saw a wing. Oh, now I see, he said. It's a bird. It's a duck, said Daniel. You're not doing it right, said Jeff. Its head is on backward. I want it that way, said Daniel. My duck is looking back. That's no way to do it, said Jeff. Father said, let him do it his way. Pages are stuck. Then spring came. It was time for the fair. Mother had made her quilt. Father had made 3 pair of Indian moccasins. Jeff's box was all done. It took a long time, he said. My duck took a long time too, said Daniel. Are you sure that you want to take that duck to the fair? Asked Jeff. Yes, said Daniel, I'm sure. They went down the mountain in their wagon. Father drove the horses. How would you like to have transportation like that, right? Makes us appreciate our cars. They drove into town. There were people everywhere. Everyone had come to the fair. Not a big town, not like we're used to, right? Father took the quilt and the moccasins. He took Jeff's box and he took Daniel's duck. He left them at the hall. The hall was a long house in the middle of town. This is where the show will be, Father said. People are getting ready now. Looks like a big church. They walked down the street. They saw the river. They talked to their friends. Father said, the hall is open. They went to the show. There were pictures that people had drawn. There were quilts and rugs and baskets. There were dolls. There were coonskin caps. Where are the wood carvings? Asked Daniel. Oh, they're all over there, said Jeff. They went to the end of the hall. The carvings were there on tables. On a small table was a carved deer. It was so beautiful that people were quiet, and when they looked at it, they were so quiet. Everyone knew that it had been done by Henry Pettigrew. Remember him? He's the wood carver, right? Let's take a look. Oh my goodness, look at that. Look at the detail of that deer. Wow. On a big table were the carvings that others had done. Hey, I see my box, said Jeff. I see my duck, said Daniel. Many people were looking at the carvings. They were laughing. What are they laughing at? Asked Daniel. Jeff didn't answer. Oh, pages are stuck. I'm sorry, I'm using up my time. Someone said, look at the duck. Someone else said, that duck is so funny. More people came to look at the duck. More people were laughing. Here's the duck. Can you see? Do you think it's funny? I don't think it's funny at all. I would be quite prideful to have that duck. Now Daniel knew they were laughing at his duck. He wanted to go away. He just wanted to hide. Here's a sad face. That's a sad face. I think the duck is beautiful. I couldn't do a duck like that. But then Daniel was angry. He went to the table. He picked up his duck and he ran with it. He ran right out of the hall. You can see here all the other things that were there. See? All the people are looking. Someone was running after him, so he ran faster. He came to the river. He started to throw his duck right in as far as he could. But something stopped him. He couldn't throw it in. A man had hold of his arm. The man asked, "What are you going to do with that duck?" "I'm going to throw it into the river," said Daniel. "Oh, you can't do that," said the man. "I can if I want to," said Daniel. "It's mine." "Did you make it?" asked the man. "Yes," said Daniel. "Why were you going to throw it away then?" asked the man. "They all laughed at it," said Daniel. "Listen to me," said the man. "There are different ways of laughing. The people liked your duck. They laughed because they liked your duck." "No, they laughed because it's ugly," said Daniel. "Oh, it isn't ugly. It's a good duck. It made me feel happy. That's why I laughed," said the man. The man was not laughing now, though. "You're hot and you're tired," the man said. "Come, let's sit in the shade." Who do you think that man is? I bet you have an idea. They sat under a tree. "Would you sell your duck?" asked the man. "Ha! Who would buy it?" asked Daniel. "I might think of someone who would buy it," said the man. A boy and a girl came up to them. "How are you today, Mr. Pettigrew?" they asked. "I'm fine," said the man. The boy and the girl went along their way. Daniel said, "You're Mr. Pettigrew?" "Yes," said the man. "I'm a wood carver too, like you." "I know that," said Daniel. He was holding his duck. He looked down at it. It wasn't ugly. It was a good duck. Henry Pettigrew had said so himself, and so he knew. Sorry. "I saw your deer," said Daniel. "I made it last winter," said the man. "I've made lots of things. My house is full of them." Daniel said, "I wish," and then he stopped. "What do you wish?" asked the man. "I wish I could see the things that you've made," said Daniel. "Well, I'll show them to you," said the man. "Maybe today, after the fair." "Shall we go back to the fair now?" "Yes," said Daniel. So they got up. The man was looking at the duck. "Will you sell it to me?" he asked again. "No," said Daniel. He held the duck a little longer, and then he handed the duck to Mr. Henry Pettigrew. That was a gift, right? Is that a gift? The first thing he ever carved, and they gave it away. Perfect. I'll see you next time. Don't forget to practice your reading.